guys? Welcome to the 2's review for 2022, Week 1. Yes, I have hijacked this year from Jason. That's where we stand. This was a cruel podcast hijacking. I'll be driving the vehicle this year. We will still hear from Jason and John as the year goes on, and as we get more information on how things progress throughout the season, especially home games when we're all together at action at the Fraction. As far as this week goes, let's go ahead and take a quick dive into Week 1, where Atlanta United 2 drops their opener at Louisville City 1-0. And, I mean, someone asked me during the game, could the average age of Atlanta United 2 legally drink? I said I wasn't sure. It turns out the answer, and I put this one on Twitter, it turns out the answer is only barely. The average age was 21 for this starting lineup. You got a lot of teenagers, a lot of academy kids, as per usual, in Atlanta United's roster for this game. So it's a 1-0 win for Louisville City, and it's kind of a weird one if you're Atlanta United 2, because you get what is a really good performance from Vicente Reyes in goal. Young goalkeeper made some really good saves, but the one goal he gives up is when he's going to walk back. Is Wilson Harris putting a really hot shot, low line drive shot in across from his left side to Reyes' left side. It goes off Reyes. His hands just, I guess, weren't strong enough in that moment. Trickles off his fingers and spins in off the inside of the post, and it's a goal. It's one Reyes is going to want back. It's one any goalkeeper would want back. For me, though, it doesn't take away Reyes having a really good night, commanding his area well. What stuck out to me personally was I felt like watching him, he was in control of the moment when the ball would be played back to him or when he's stepping out to cut out a long ball. Because there were points in the game where Louisville City decides to go route one and tries to go over the top and put him in situations where they can go in Atlanta's young back line. Well, what ends up happening in those moments is he's stepping out of his box to cut out the pass so he doesn't end up in a one-on-one or put his defender in a weird spot. But a lot of times he would cut those out, and he wasn't just bombing the ball down the field. He's cutting those out, and he's controlling the ball and playing a good pass to someone 10, 15, 20 yards away from him, and not just bombing it down just so it would come right back down his throat, but trying to keep control, keep possession of the ball. Atlanta tried that all night and just weren't able to really generate what they wanted statistically. As far as the stats go, I mean, they were just completely outgunned in this one. What would you expect? It's a young team going to Louisville, who is a veteran team and one of the better teams in USL. Atlanta is outshot 23-6, 7 shots on target for Louisville City, 1 for Atlanta United 2. We'll get to that in just a moment. 5 block shots for Louisville City as well. They outdid Atlanta on the corners 6-2, 17 fouls to 10, 2 yellow cards to 1. Look, Louisville City had one big chance. Really, they missed it. I mean, the goal they scored wasn't even on their biggest chance of the night. As far as possession goes, man, it's about what I guess what you expect from Atlanta United 2 at this point. It's a split 50-50 possession. They weren't dangerous enough with the possession, but with a team that young and you're getting everybody up to speed, that's one of the things that's going to happen. I mean, you're on the road as well in a tough, dangerous place like Louisville City, where that home crowd in Louisville is one of the better ones you're going to run into. And Atlanta still tried to control things. When they got the turnover deep in their own end, they weren't just trying to hoof it down the field. They were trying to play out with it. And at times, the possession wasn't as much with teeth as you probably would have wanted. But that's okay. That's something you build on going into Game 2, which is Wednesday night this coming week against New York Red Bulls 2 at the Fraction. But it's 50-50 possession. Atlanta's still able to get plenty of passes off. I mean, this wasn't one where, they just bunkered and prayed to God. Louisville completed 411 passes. Atlanta completed 408. They were pretty accurate, their passes. They just weren't able to get in the final third and create enough, which is something that they'll work on. And I would expect to see them turn those into more chances. It's a team that likes to press, and both these teams were a lot of fun. They're both teams, they want to press because they want the ball. They don't just want to press mindlessly up the field and give you the ball and press you. They want the ball, and when you don't have it, they're going to counter-press you, and they're going to take the ball from you. Both of them are strategic in their press, too. I mean, they're going to funnel the ball. It's not just pressing for the sake of it. And we went over this with the first team in, the Salt to Takeaway the other night after the Charlotte game, it's not just a mindless press. They're going to try and kind of get things where they want it to go. For those of you that care about the duels that we have trademarked at this point, Atlanta wins that 57-50. Actually won the aerial duels as well, which is that's always going to happen when you have Aiden McFadden in your team because Aiden McFadden is irrationally good at handling those. 32 clearances for Atlanta United 2 in the game. As far as individual performances go, like you said, Vicente Reyes pulled a 7.8 according to SofaScore. Really good game. He's going to want that goal back. But really good performance from him overall. Other highlights for the team, Aiden McFadden, good night. You have the goal. There is a goal that's taken off the board for Atlanta United 2 that comes off of a corner that there's not really a great angle. It's ruled out for offside. It's tough to tell. He may have very well been offside, but it's so hard to tell from that angle that it's one of those you have to just go with the call on the field. There's nothing. I didn't think there was anything clear in the view because of the way the camera is kind of on a slash angle. It's not lined up perfectly. It's hard to tell if he's on or off because it's an initial shot that goes off and the rebound falls to McFadden. He may have been offside. He pokes it in, but it is waved off very quickly. So it wasn't like one where they had to talk about it and they threw the flag up. The AR was very quick with the flag. Louisville City continues to attack, and then they bring on the guy who haunted this team, honestly, for big chunks of last year's season is Enoch Mushagalusa, who was with Sporting Kansas City 2 last year. And, man, Mushagalusa is just – he is a real one with USL level. And I don't know how high his ceiling is, but in USL Championship, his ceiling has been terrorize Atlanta United at will because that's what he's done. He did it last year with Sporting Kansas City 2, and he sets up the goal tonight. He's cutting – he gets a loose ball at the top of the box going to his right and doesn't carry it, just kind of touches it off just barely for Wilson Harris, who drills that low shot that ends up being the difference. Mushagalusa just comes on the field and causes problems. He knows his role, and he goes out, and he completely understands the assignment. Mikey Ambrose had a 7.2 for Atlanta United 2, had 4 clearances, 4 interceptions, won 5 of 8 of his ground duels, 2 of his 3 aerial duels. He's forced into a weird situation. He was playing more of a center back role with Noah Cobb, who Noah Cobb continues to impress as well. Won 3 of his 5 ground duels. Did lose possession a number of times, was fouled, but gets off 72 touches in that game. Has a good key pass. Is 5 of 13 on his long balls. As far as the attack goes, I mean, it wasn't what you wanted, and it's a tough game for the attack. They're going to be fighting through a really tough web of Louisville City. And you have David Mejia, who only punches a 6-3 in this game, and you'll expect more from him. And I think Mejia has that in him. Don't look at this game as your benchmark for what this team can be. It's such a tough matchup to go to Louisville City. Jackson Conway punched a 7-1 in the game. Look, Conway is in an interesting spot this year. He's got to perform because he's shown it in flashes with the first team and the second team, but hasn't been consistent enough, in my opinion. And that night is one that you're gonna want to see more from him because he gets the one chance in on goal where they play the long ball over the top. He's in on goal with the keeper, and it's 1v1, and he smashes it off the keeper's face. I think he blooded the dude's nose, but there's Kyle Morton in goal for Lou City, who had a pretty good night himself. But he smashes it off of Morton's nose and doesn't put it away. And that's one that it's in that sort of game, even though you're fighting with Lou City, you're not just going to surrender possession and bunker. You're not going to get as many chances. And when you get a chance like that, you got to put it away. And he knows that. He'll build on it going into next week. It is, though, you're just – I think there's a level of anxiousness with Jackson Conway because he's talented enough. And he gets the one opportunity, and that's where he's got to be lethal and where he can build on it for next time out. And that, hey, you get that opportunity on the road, over the top, when we're in kind of a tug of war with the other team, you got to put it away. So we'll see how he's able to build on it. Eric Centeno did get the start for Atlanta United 2, the draft pick. Won 5 of 8 on his ground duels. Otherwise, he was 2 for 2 on his dribbles, which is what you want. You want to get him isolated, and it's a really interesting setup with Aiden McFadden and Eric Centeno both on that side of the field, two guys who can create. And Centeno being able to create, I mean, he only has 2 dribbles, but he's successful on both of them. If you can overload that left side of the field and get him isolated on the right, he can win those dribbles, and then you run into the possibility of overlapping or underlapping with Aiden McFadden and his ability to score and to create. It can be a lot of fun for this team. One of the players I'm really high on and really excited about was Efrain Morales. Was 5 of 11 on his ground duels. Was fouled once, had 5 clearances, blocked 2 shots, had 3 interceptions, 5 tackles. Efrain Morales still has some growing to do, both physically and skill wise. And I'm very excited to see what he can be. He just has to grow. But he was very impressive in those moments for the 2's, and he is such a unique physical presence that I look forward to seeing how he does. He's 1 of 2 on his long balls, but he did play the whole game, which after his injuries last year is good to see. You want to stretch him out and see what he has to offer the team. Grant Howard comes in and plays and does pretty well as he comes in for Matthew Brick, who had started at left back. Jonathan Vial comes in for Eric Centeno or Vilal, and Vilal's another one of those that incredibly gifted technically. Like, he got out there and did a couple slalom runs and can absolutely break guys down. He'll be able to break guys down at championship level. He'll be one to watch this year when he gets those opportunities, because if he's feeling himself and he gets on a nice little roll, he can absolutely cause problems. You have Brendan Lamb in the game and Luke Brennan as well. Again, a lot of kids out there. The only people who did not see the field, Darwin Mateus did not. And I don't know for sure if Mateus was banged up and he was just on the bench because he wanted a body on the bench. Because this game could have used him, I think, late in the game. Johnny Fortune was on the bench as well, and Justin Garces. But aside from letting that goal in, Vicente Reyes is going to know he wanted to do better. Vicente Reyes didn't give you much to complain about. Really solid performing for him. And Garces will get his moments this year. They're going to fight for those opportunities to play in net for this team. When they go on the road, they're going to be in games like this because they're going to want to play out of the back, which means they're going to make mistakes because a lot of them are teenagers at the back. This is a team that at one point, Aiden McFadden's still in his early 20s, I believe 23. Mikey Ambrose is your veteran who's bringing the age average up for this team. Otherwise, look, Noah Cobb and Matthew Brick are still very young. And then you throw out Grant Howard as well. It's a very young back line. They're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. That's how they can learn. That's how they can grow. But you're going to have shots. If you're going to have shots, you're going to be defending if you're in goal. So we're going to see shot stopping from them. We're going to see organizing back line from these guys to see how well they can organize, how well they can stop shots, and more importantly, how well they can distribute so they can start the build-up in their attack. And then you're going to see from the front line you're going to need to see more of Jackson Conway leading that press. I think he's capable of it. You're going to need to see, David Mejia being smart about leading that press. Robbie Mertz helping kind of marshal everything. This is where Tyler Wolf was so good last year with the 2's. Of course, Tyler Wolf starting with the first team right now while they get everybody healthy. Tyler Wolf's ability to lead that press and do it so smartly and effectively was such a big thing last year. And being able to get that from people will be huge for them going into Wednesday night, going in the rest of the season, but especially Wednesday against a Red Bulls team that is going to probably seek possession to Atlanta. And Atlanta's going to have to build and create, and at times they might have to skip lines and try and skip the pressure from Red Bulls and not get turned over, but they are going to play out the back. It's going to be probably going to be a little bit dicey at times with Red Bulls too when they come to Kennesaw. But we'll have it for you Wednesday night. We'll have an update after the game as we do another 2's review in a weekend that isn't so chaotic. Hopefully hear from Jason and or John. Get some updates as well from Jack Collison. So that'll do it for us right now. That's your 2's review for Week 1. Atlanta United 2 falls 1-0 to Louisville City in Louisville. We'll be back Wednesday night with action at the Fraction.